Yeah, but with percolation tests, we found that the water that we put in there is still actually sitting there. Just kidding, it doesn't percolate the way that we want it, so the upper field is not actually able to be used. So we have, come up with using this back. I believe that this lower athletic would be the potential leach field for the future, and somehow we need to phase through moving the existing, but that's more in the weeds terms for how we figure out, phasing the project.
What we learned early on in this process was that the upper athletic field really wasn't suitable for a lot of things.
Yes.
The soil is just terrible. So it's really not any good for a septic field. We were kind of thinking at one point that we could pump it up there. And that would have been great, but it's just not practical. So we're keeping that upper field intact. So what you're looking at here is 119,000 square foot building. That's 2 stories instead of the previously designed 146,000 square foot building. The gross footprint of the building is about 76,000 square feet, whereas the previous footprint was about 93,000 square feet. Just walking you through the floor plan really quick. We can go to the first floor, Roger. Now you've all seen the plan, so I'm just going to talk about big concept, so organizationally. So main entrance, of course, in the existing cafeteria, which will stay a cafeteria, but it will no longer need to be a multi-purpose room necessarily. A gym here that was downsized in the right size, I should say, in the last go around of design. Bleachers that are not the full 500, we sort of cut that in half in terms of capacity because it was decided we really didn't need it. But that is right off the main entrance, so there's good lockdown after hours opportunities here if you need to use the gym, but you don't want somebody to be able to get into the rest of the school. Front administration area suite so that people can come in for their meetings with the teachers and so forth without walking through the entire school.
She has a question.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Shannon knows and many others, and it's terrible to be somebody who comes in at the last minute to ask major questions, but because I've been on building committees before and there's nothing worse than somebody who comes in and says, why don't you use blonde brick instead of red brick? You know, that sort of thing. I really need to understand why the gym is where it is. And the reason that it's an issue for me is that when I was on the building committee earlier and we were thinking about turning Clark into a community center, we went to Concord to visit schools, old schools that have been turned into community centers. And they made a huge point of saying, if you're gonna put in a gym, which they had beautiful gyms in the community centers, make sure that it's, you know, accessible from the front of the building so that you don't have to go through the building to get to it. So I need to understand why it is where it is. And then secondly, I have an issue with the fact that that whole second floor, you know, the space above the gym is not usable as part of the second floor. It's not a continuous sort of space. You know, so you have to go around it in order to get to the classrooms. And if you moved it to the front of the building, then you would have all of that space to use for classrooms. So, you know, it's probably impossible to make those kind of changes at this point. But I would, if I need to sleep better at night, I would like to at least have an explanation.
Yeah, sure. Would you want me to go right into that, or would you like me to walk into the rest of the school first?
I mean, whatever you are most comfortable with, like, are you okay if we walk through the rest of the school and then come back to it? Because we did talk about different locations for the gym, so wherever you think it fits best in the flow of how you're going.
I think it's a Brad answer along with committee answer as well. I mean, because it's just to be clear, it wasn't a Banwell decision as to why the gym is in the center. It's a collaborative effort. So I mean, Brad can speak to it, but we can also speak to it as well. But yeah, Brad, please.
Okay, so I'll just quickly wrap up here. So we were talking about the gym, the media centers over here on the side, still a very public space, and easily accessible from the front of the building, for visitors as well as, easy to get to for all the kids. Unified Arts up here with music and art, off to the side, which, and also it has great adjacencies to the stage for performances. Down, on the lower portion here, we have a special education suite. So in this design, we have a couple of things going on. We have the STARS education suite that needs to be all together. But we also have special education programs dispersed throughout the building so that the students don't have to walk far for those day-to-day services outside their general instruction classroom. So it's a kind of a plus and a bonus on both ends of the spectrum. Nurse's office right in the middle of the building, which makes it really easy for access and emergencies, or somebody's just having a moment, they can get down there quick. But it also has exterior access for a dismissal right outside the nurse's office for those COVID environments where you really just don't want somebody walking all the way through the school, and they can be picked up all along this pickup drop off. All the blue are generally structured classrooms, so those are your typical 900 square foot type classrooms for first, second, third grade and so forth. These light green here is the special education classrooms embedded in the grays that I was discussing. The beige is essentially building services or facilities. So you've got your mechanical, electrical room, and then your toilet rooms over here. And the idea behind this concept was we designed it so that essentially we could build this in phases. So we could build this line here is the outside line of the existing building. So the concept was to build mechanical, electrical, and services for this wing, essentially, and build all this wing as part of phase one as a two-story building outside of the existing school while it operates. And then we could move students from this building, these classrooms, into this building that was completed, and then do our renovations and additions in this area and connect the two the following year. That's my quick synopsis. Second floor, as you were pointing out, I'm sorry, I didn't get your name. Jeannie, thank you. As Jeannie was pointing out, this is the upstairs portion of the double height space that's needed for any gym. The front of the building is a single story structure with the existing cafeteria and administration space in the library. It was determined by the committee that they really liked the idea of approaching this as a one-story building to keep the scale down for the little ones, and not to have sort of a large box that they were coming into as first graders. These are the stairwells here that get you up, and there's one down at the end to the second floor. The blue, of course, is the third, fourth, and fifth grade classrooms. There is an assistant principal office down here, teacher's room down here. Again, more special education spaces in the green peppered throughout. And you'll also notice that we tried to keep all of the instructional rooms on perimeter locations so that we could take advantage of daylighting through windows, which kind of gets me back to the gym thing. If we could go to, there you go, if we could go to the site plan, Roger.
I'll go to the site, and then we do have some nice renderings of just showing that pulling up to a first story building that helps speak to that as well, but here's site for you.
Great. So the reason I wanted to talk about this is because I just wanted to get into Gene's questions a little bit further. This is a very long, narrow site. It's a tough site in terms of all the different components that we've identified have to be in the program. And we prioritized giving the daylighting spaces to the students. We did look at one point in option number one, putting the gym at the tail end of the building so that it had simple access to the outside from any visitors after hours. And the committee determined that they preferred to have it in closer to the center of the building so the students didn't have to walk quite so far to get PE, because if you're on the second floor over here as a third grader and the gym is down there, then you're walking quite a distance to get there. It was also preferable to leverage the perimeter of the building for the daylighting instead of giving it to the gym. So that was the other half of the equation, and of course, pushing it up to the front would make it would create that two-story building effects, that box effect, as you're sort of walking up to the building from the street, and that was considered to be not preferable.
I'm just trying to get to some drawings that help speak to that, because Brad, Banwell did put some exterior designs to be renderings together for us, just, here we go, right here.
Yep, so what you can see is, of course, this is the cafeteria, the main entrance. There's the library over here. The gym is here. It's sort of set back. We even put a sloped roof at this portion of the gym, with some skylights and so forth over the corridor to give it some more sunlight.
Right, so we're on the topic of the gym, you made mention of the fact that there are sort of security opportunities for after hours. Could you walk through that with a little more specificity?
Sure.
And that's just how we function as, just a school building after hours, and I'm just getting Brad to the design so that he can help speak to that.
Yeah, so that it's really easy on this, the way this is laid out, to put lockdown doors at these locations so that you can't get beyond this lobby when you're coming in after hours. Okay. Obviously, it's ideal to have both access to the lobby as well as through exterior walls of the gym to be able to use it after hours, and I would be the first one to agree with that. It's just that we're just facing the challenges of this site and the size of the program requirements for the education, and trying to meld those two and make the right compromises there.
So just to reiterate, with this design and accessing the gym after hours as a community member, I'm coming through the main entrance. Lobby space is available for me to walk through. All the reception doors are closed and locked. I go in through the gym. I cannot access those two hallways on either side of the gym, but the gym is essentially as kind of an independent facility in that there are restrooms available in the gym and everything that I need to run. the gym
Restrooms are in the main
program.
lobby.
But no, there's a toilet right there off the
Yeah,
gym,
right off
in the
main
bottom.
Well, this is for student support here.
Okay, so that's not an accessible restroom in the gym?
No,
Am I
I see.
misunderstanding that?
Right. These are the toilets that will serve the public
That's the
during
gym,
an event.
okay,
Um,
okay, but those are still,
yeah,
okay,
it's important to note that in the course of regular use of the gym, you are correct. You don't get access to the corridors and so forth, but this door will be alarmed, so you can, in an emergency, get through the door.
gotcha.
Because we want people to be able to get out there to the emergency egresses from that side of the gym. But we'll just alarm the doors so that they'll go off as soon as somebody goes through them. But in an emergency, nobody cares about the alarm going off. You gotta get out of the building.
And my recollection, and I could be mistaken, so please correct me, when we looked at, because we did go through the exercise during one of our meetings of picking up the gym. Moving it to the front, which then created a whole host of programming challenges trying to move. The special ed wing and kind of how that fit in terms of. Like the efficient use of the space and proximity to the other programs that they needed.
It essentially
Refresh.
elongated the building.
Right, okay.
It's
Yeah, we got pushed further back, and then we put the gym in the back of the building, and we had people walking from the front parking lot. All the way to the back, so if memory serves me, it was really a function of. The site was presenting some challenges and trying to put that gym somewhere.
Yeah.
Around the exterior of the building, and again, that wanting to maintain that. Profile of the building in the village to not have a big box. When you're driving down Boston Post Road was also a big factor.
And it's probably important for anybody thinking about, well, okay, don't go back, go forward. there's a floodplain out in the
Right.
front of the school. So we have floodplain and wetland setbacks, so that's what these red lines are. So we're trying to stay outside of the wetland setback, of course. And of course, we have to stay away from the floodplain. So we're really, our only expansion opportunity is toward the back. Balancing that against trying to get a proper septic system and a field that works for a school.
And Kathleen talked about the littles. Walking, how long it would take them to walk all the way through to get there, every PE something that everybody does.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and that makes me feel much better, because I wasn't aware of, sort of all the parameters that had to be met. Especially because it's one of the pluses for the community in order to, we're adding a gym. We don't have enough gym space as is, we want to be able to promote it, so that people have access to it and think of this as a good investment.
And that's where we really tried to push for it on option one, creating this design. We just found that the full design didn't meet the needs. And I mean, you can see the distance that if you're on this side of the building, as Steve said, the little's walking our way to the back side and then having to go back as well. So thank you for that, Brad.
And the renovate and expand left us with, as you said, substandard in classroom size.
Yeah.
And we weren't getting bang for the buck in creating the future school.
No, it's sort of it was one of those things where if you go through the programming spreadsheet, and I don't know how many of you got a chance to read that sexy document, it's good bedtime reading.
Yeah.
But that spreadsheet enumerates every single space and how big it should be. And by doing this option one, a recurring theme as you look at every space is, okay, I'm checking the box and I'm getting the space. But it's too small.
Yeah.
So when you do 20 classrooms and they're all 35 square feet too small, and the corridors are too small already, so I can't design like a coat rack system or a cubby system that'll go in the corridor to alleviate the pressure of the classrooms, because the corridors are too small already. So it's just kind of you're hemmed in for sure. That's really why we find that our renovated schools end up being a little bit bigger actually in gross square footage than new schools that we built to suit, because we have to sort of jerry rig inside the existing structure.
And I'll assume you'll be talking about the time frame, should this get approved, what the phases.
Yeah, Mike's gonna
What happened.
take us through that.
Not sure I will, but yeah, yes.
We will get to that, absolutely. Next step will be just a reevaluation on costs. So that way we have a number to bring forward, and then if approved, we go into the design on how are we going to build.
Is the,
Oh, sorry.
no, you don't really have.
I had another question, but if you rather we table it for now. On the site plan, the access to Jones Road, I know you guys went through this last time. But could you talk a little bit about that new access point on Jones Road, and has there been traffic study or safety evaluation of that curb cut? Cause that, I know there was concern about that, and knowing that road very well and where that access point is, the visibility looks difficult for buses to be coming in and out of that. So just anything that you have on that topic would be helpful.
I'll give you the high level.
Okay.
That's all I have, but the concept here was that cars come in on this side for pick up, drop off, and they come out that side. Buses, on the other hand, come in and go out this way. So the buses are only on Jones Road. That's the way I seem to recall. Is that
Don't
correct?
push that, that's the emergency only, so.
It's for drop off and pickup, and it's a gated road, so it is not open to the public to be used.
Okay.
It's gated down, it's specific for just buses, pickup, drop off,
That's it.
closed with a gate.
Okay.
Parent pickup, drop off.
Can you
comes through
explain
here.
that to me one more time, please?
There will be a
The
gate
bus
as
comes in, where does it go?
The bus comes in on this side
Yes,
with the door that the kids go in and out of the bus on,
right,
facing the school. It comes in here, they have a designated lane to park the bus.
okay,
The cars come in to the left of that in a different designated lane that has separation between the two lanes.
Got that,
And those cars come around here. And they
Okay.
double load all along here.
don't the buses come there too, to exit?
The buses, when the time comes and they're released, all at once, go out this way.
Only.
Only buses.
And they'll all be left-hand turn out of there, or can they go in either direction?
To be determined.
That's gonna be bad, you know.
That's the
We don't
plan.
have an answer from that from the civil engineer is why I'm saying to be determined at this point. We have to investigate.
Okay,
So, and then otherwise, this is gated and controlled at the top.
Why don't the buses come out the same way the cars do? I'm looking at the people up there that live on
Congestion.
that road,
Safety,
they're pretty screaming and hollering.
safety and congestion, you want them to go out a different,
I understand that. But some of the community won't.
well, it's really a scheduling design
Okay,
by the school system. They would need to design their scheduling as such. Where you would essentially wait for all the cars to leave before the buses can leave. Because they line up at the same time.
yeah,
And is that a way you can operate the school? I don't know any schools that do that.
so Rogers, there's additional evaluation, engineering evaluation being done on that access.
Yes,
Okay,
not at this time. It picks up with the project as far as the civil side of it. We had civil, obviously civil has created this. We've used Ty and Bond for this, creating our access up there. This isn't the existing field as you look at it. This road is set back. I mean, we gain more off of that. I mean, there's site work that needs to be done there.
right, it's coming through what's a wooded lot, right?
Yes, exactly.
On that curve, right, so.
yeah, that's-
And they take in test pits and ones, right, Roger?
We've done test pits and borings for the lower field here to make sure that the building can be built there. This is just a roadway. We're not too concerned about test pits and borings there. Obviously, we'll need that to make sure that it's just. We will need that, but ideally, we've just made sure that where we want to build the building is appropriate and that has come back for us.
I do think we did some borings up there because we wanted to check it for septic.
I feel like we did test pits up there. We didn't do any borings.
There you go.
Yeah, we did borings down below.
Okay, I'd like to go back to John's question about traffic study. I believe the town has a traffic study on that particular thing.
Yeah, they do,
They do.
yeah.
And you should be able to ask them and find out what results came from that traffic study. I don't know when it was taken, I can't remember. But we should be able to utilize that to some degree.
Yeah, and we do have a line item for a traffic study as well in just our overall.
Okay, that's good.
That we'll go over. We make sure we try to account for everything, especially the unknown. Yes, we have more work to do there, but that is our emergency egress to be used only during certain times. And I say gate because just after hours, this is gated. We don't want this all of a sudden to become a cut through for the community to go through Wilkins to get through to Boston Post.
So does
think-
it make sense for the buses to come in Jones Road and go out Boston Post instead? of
It's just where the door is facing the school. Now you have students actually crossing in front of the bus in order to get into the school rather than getting out on the school side. If buses are coming down this way. That means the door is facing the field, which means students now come in front of the bus to get into the building.
Okay, I worry about there being cars and buses, you know, I don't know how big these lanes are gonna be, but,
And I can say that this is just a plan for right now. As we go in and we get in depth, we decide, I know when we started Golden Brook and Wyndham, this started out as a one-way road around. Or a two-way road, and then it ended up as a one-way road around, and it all becomes marking, so I think. We know we need a road, it's just we'll develop the bus and drop-off times. As we get into this, and we don't have all the answers right now, but know that we need to. This is a step that we need to take as we move forward.
So my.
But I just wanna jump in because this question came up early on in last year.
right,
So the lane separation is critical. So we're talking about a bus lane a curb, a fence, and a car lane.
Okay,
And that's how you separate them out. I mean, they're physically separated.
right.
But in terms, in terms of that, road that goes up to Jones. That was originally, and correct me if I'm wrong, created as part of the plan, the site plan with time bond, because we need a secondary emergency egress. What we're using now is sort of grandfathered in and does not meet the modern codes or standards for what would count as an egress, right? Because right now, we
That's right.
really don't truly have that.
It's a state fire.
So determining if this is actually going to be the way that we operate the buses, or if we choose to take those around, I think that's the piece of the plan that we still have some work to do on, but I think what we safely can say to the community is that road is not designed for car traffic. There's no intention to be running the cars up and down that secondary egress road. It's an emergency egress and potentially a bus access point. It will be gated during the day. Is that true, Roger and Brad? And that was my understanding last year. So if I had it wrong, I'd like to correct that.
Yes, so you see this 75 car parent pickup
Right.
quantity?
Yeah.
These little squares are all cars and they
Yeah.
start here and they
Yeah.
end here.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a double lane. Pickup with a center lane clearance for cars to travel, okay? It's sort of a through lane. So that's essentially a 3-lane road.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we're gonna add a bus lane. We're either gonna add a 4th lane for buses to get out the buses this way. Or we're gonna have to schedule all the cars so that the cars leave before the buses do, or vice versa. There's really no other choice. This is a very tight design right here. It doesn't mean we couldn't do a 4-lane. But I wouldn't want to misrepresent that that's an easy thing necessarily to do. We'd have to talk to Ty and Bond and get confirmation. I just want to sort of leap on to that point, and I'm glad you brought it up, Sharon. Sharon,
You can
So-
assume that you guys will have figured this out before it's presented to the public, because it is a big issue for.
well, it is figured out.
It is.
Oh,
It is
okay.
figured out.
It's an emergency egress
Sounds like
road,
it
but we
is.
tend to use bus drop off. It's closed during the day. It is not.
I see you guys online, so there's 2 online questions. I'm gonna start with, Michael Lane. I'm gonna take you off, okay.
I think I'm there.
Michael.
Hi, yeah,
Hi.
no, I was just gonna, just quickly on, just as a parent who drops off at Wilkins every day, a question on this with the Jones Road. It sounds like we're saying that would be gated during the day. So I'd imagine the gate would have to be opened up in the morning. And I think one of the concerns would be is like, I see parents getting there like 7 a.m. like right now. So I think you could see a lot of like traffic on like Jones Road just sitting there waiting to get into the gate. So I think that just something I'm thinking of just to consider as we're talking through that, and maybe I misunderstood how it's going to be, but
Yeah,
just
that
wanted to
gate
bring
might-
up that point.
Yeah, that would only be for buses. So when that gate's open, it would be open to buses, not to parent traffic.
Okay,
So,
okay.
Yeah, I think I'm glad you brought it up because it helps us clarify what must not have been clear. One of the beauties of this design is that the parents who come in early, anybody who comes in, has plenty of room to get onto the campus and wait on campus. This alleviates a lot of traffic pressure on Boston Post Road that exists right now. Parents won't be waiting on the road to get onto the campus to pick up.
Okay, I misunderstood. I thought we were saying that whole area was gated off and it would have to be opened up at some point, like in the morning. So thank you, that clarifies.
So, sorry about that. The gate that we're talking about is that I would envision there being 2. So one would be at the top of the emergency drive at Jones Road. And another gate at the intersection or the bottom of that access road. And it would be opened by staff prior to the release of the buses, but otherwise remain closed. Of course, it has a key that would be, they'd have a special box of the fire department. So the fire department can always get through, but otherwise they remain closed. And the reason why I said this was figured out was earlier, my statement was that this design was intended that the buses go out the top. This was not intended to widen this to a 4-lane road for buses to go out the bottom. If you want to change that, we could talk to Civil, but I'm pretty darn sure that we thought that that wasn't the best solution for the school, because if you're putting buses along here on either side, either the kids in the cars or the kids in the buses have to cross several lanes of traffic to get to the school, which is a serious safety issue that if we can avoid it by having the buses only on this side and going out only on this side, I think that would be better.
All right, Greg has a question also. Greg, do you wanna unmute? There you go.
Thanks. I think the traffic study that was done was only on the existing roads, and that the money that Roger is talking about is designed to study the traffic if that new road were built. I think that's the important line. Is that incorrect?
The money that we're carrying for the traffic study is for any portion of the project that may need more determination, Greg, you are correct on that. I'm not sure I'm not sure what the town has in existing, but I'll certainly see what information we can get.
Okay, I'm pretty sure her last time we asked that it was only for existing, and I know we're like close to 8 minutes till this meeting's over, and I just want to talk about the next steps. So while I'm unmuted, I'll just say that many of us are expecting the costs this year to be higher than last year, just because generally the dollar buys less each year. But I'm hopeful that you can come back to us with a lower cost than last year, and just some of the possible areas where you might find cost decreases over the last quote. Maybe you found better valued subcontractors in the last period of performance. Maybe there's more realistic costs from last year. Maybe you budgeted for some margin that now you realize is higher than it needs to be. Perhaps the reserve funds or fees reductions, if you have more confidence in the project now that you had another cycle to think about it. And maybe we don't need as much reserve dollars based on the risk. And my personal view is that I don't see us passing a town vote without a cost reduction. So I hope that you can find some way to do that. Thanks.
This is Mike from DEW. We're gonna get back into this with our estimators over the course of the next month. Look at it as closely, as responsibly as we can, including the contingencies between what we carry and the school carries. So no, understood. That would be everyone's hope.
And the
But I
reality
don't
though,
provide false hope either.
and so where are you in your experience, since you guys are builders? Where is construction costs gone from last year to this year? Can you speak to that?
They continue to, they've stabilized a little bit, but like, if anyone's heard of Bermudians, I can't say the word, the national estimating independent company, they're projecting costs being up 5.2% next year from this year. That's nationally. It doesn't mean necessarily this area. And one important factor is back to the time frame. We mentioned talking about time frame. If this passes, then when we finish the design, are we targeting as a group starting in the fall of 2025? Or would we be targeting starting, seemingly the addition, the spring of 20, or when kids are out of 2026?
Before we get
Yep, sorry.
we have about 6 minutes left until noon, so.
So I'm just gonna answer
Yeah.
that question with a broad statement.
Please.
It's the same phasing as the last design. It all moves out a year. So what you're looking at is a
2026.
reevaluation of all of
Yeah.
the design elements
Yeah.
under the most recent market, and then adjusting your escalation or your inflation as the market has adjusted in the past year for your projections.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Well, that's fair, because reality is when this patches in March, we need to relocate students, we would need portables dropped on the site, and the reality of this from March to fall, we're not going to be able to procure that, drop that on
Sure.
the site, so that's where that pushes us to the year. Banmo starts designing, and then we start planning for the whole phasing of the
Right.
demolition renovation. That's
Okay.
where we're there. So we're a year
And
out.
I understand, Brad.
Yeah, so we're, just for everybody, just to decode that for everybody at the table. When we have a successful bond vote in March of 25. Drawings go out for bidding by DEW in December of 25. Okay, we get our best prices at the end of the calendar year. We get bids back December, January, somewhere in that range.
Yep.
We work it out in terms of, okay, what's the final contract price, et cetera. And then they start looking at construction in the spring of 26, or when school lets out at 26 is typical. In the meantime, between December and June, they're mobilizing, they're setting their contracts, they're buying any long lead items that they can purchase ahead of time. We're figuring out portables and getting those all located. We're getting permits. I mean, that's all happening during that time period. So it's like 15 months, I think.
Oh, sure, perfect.
So I know we've got 4 minutes left and I don't know if people have to jump off or not. So what I wanted Brad and Mike here for is to go over this. We asked Banwell for this copy that we shared of our rendering that is dated, I believe, January of 2024. Are we looking to keep this same rendering and we want to update the dates to just current dates? Or are we fine with these? I believe I have 4 of those.
You mean for material to do?
Just for materials, for, do we just want an updated version of this? Are we happy with this design display board that we've shared with the community? The only thing, I was very happy with it. The only thing I noticed is that it has a January of 2024 date. I didn't know if we wanted to update that.
I think we need to update.
Yes.
Okay,
Perfect.
So I'm gonna put a new date on it. What date would you like?
Let's go with Shannon.
Let's go, Shannon.
Let's go.
So just a quick question, materially, nothing has changed from this, what we're talking about today.
Correct.
That is correct.
Correct, okay, so I guess my question is, when community members say, what did you do differently?
Nothing, it's the same plan that got 54%.
Okay,
That was the feedback post vote to the board. Was significant number of people said, keep going, same plan.
okay,
November 4th.
So
okay.
that was a November approval last year, this is June approval. So hopefully it's a communication, increased communication information along the time. To Greg's point, I don't know about the increase in cost due to construction. And Amy's not here, I forget what interest rate we carried for the warrant. But the most recent bond sale by the bond bank, I think, was in low 3s. And I thought we carried 4.
I think it was 4, but I can't get online to check the
And
delivery.
I think so,
Yeah.
so there might be some, lower rate plus higher cost equals similar cost. But don't quote me on anything I just said, except that I'm pretty sure the bond bank sale was low 3.25, but I don't know. I mean, Amy's not here. But, and that was before the Fed just cut 0.5 point. The bond bank sale was before the Fed cut 0.5 point. So I'm hoping for some interest rate relief to compensate for the increased cost in construction.
Well, this is also.
Hey, Roger,
a good-
on the poster discussion, I would just leave the same date, because G. Luke's point, we want the date to reflect the revision of the design, and we're not making any significant changes this year, so I would just leave it and say this is the design that we're talking about, instead of confuse people, say there's a new design this year. And save them some money as
We're
bank.
just changing the date. We're saying that we reconfirm this is the design and it should be with the new date.
Yeah, I appreciate that opinion. I think the committee is just going with, we should have updated dates, Greg. We decided November 1st, 2024, if there's no arguments there.
No.
And
Yeah, I
then,
mean, I hear you, I mean, I can see both sides of that,
No.
argument, actually, but I feel like maybe, I don't know if there's a way to just put like, I prefer the more recent date, just so people know this is what's going on the March 2025 ballot. So I almost wonder if it says like March 2025, right? Because that's when it's being presented to the voters on the ballot. Does that,
I think that's
is
fair.
that
I see that.
confusing to people? I don't know. I got a thumbs up from someone.
so-
Was that Michael, a thumbs up?
Suggestion,
Watch that.
if you know the date of the bond vote, you could actually put on there in bold letters, please vote, and give the date and the
Yeah,
location.
Which
on
we
the
would
poster.
have that,
But you
yeah.
could put it right on there.
right,
And
that
that
would,
sort of,
what do you guys, how does everyone feel?
Yeah,
Did
that
we
makes
lose
sense.
Greg? We lost Greg.
I think he popped off. He said he had.
They have to have a
something.
magnifying glass to see, so I think we want to put something
Bigger.
bigger up there, like over it. That
But
says.
as long as you say like on the ballot for that, I mean, cause it's, if you put it out there now that says March 2025, people are gonna be like looking at it in December going, what are you talking about?
Right,
maybe-
vote,
Vote or this will be on the ballot, like
March
some kind of,
20,
yeah,
yeah.
but that's what this is
yeah,
for.
do you guys know? what
we
date
do,
it
we have
covers?
the date, so can I email you?
It's March 11th.
I can't even get online right now to track.
March
March
11th.
11th. I mean, does that make sense to you all? To me, that makes sense to have as a date, yes, Jennifer?
recommends that we put a bond proposal together, so we know what dates are and what the finances are gonna be for our presentations.
For sure. We
Right.
can't do it without,
Right, you can't do without,
right? Which is why we're getting it, updated costing,
and
so that we can do that,
Amy just came back, so she's got a lot of that to work with.
yeah.
And then just the last item is for Mike, you said 4 weeks you need for the cost estimate, so is that correct?
I'll go back and, we need at least 4 weeks, I'd say earliest November 1, latest mid-November, if that works for you folks.
We,
So the better.
yeah, we need it before November 1. So whatever we need to do for that, I know Matt and I have worked, we collaborate on these, so whatever's needed to get it sooner than later. If we don't have a number, we're not selling anything.
Understood.
So is the school district gonna be reviewing the soft costs at the same time?
Correct. That's the collaborative effort.
Yeah, and then there's the whole contingency discussion, I think.
Yeah,
It's
we'll-
gonna be
we'll-
interesting.
yeah, continue that dialogue.
So I'm sorry to beat a dead horse, but I wanna make sure I know what messaging you want on that board. Is it just please vote March 11, 2025? What do you want it to say? It's your building, it's your messaging, that's why I'm asking.
You often have thoughts, Jeannie and.
Well, no, I mean, please, please support. This proposal for March 11th. I don't know, something.
Supports, if this is school district funds, that's close to election year.
I know, I think we have to say vote on and the date.
Okay, that's good.
I would agree with that.
Is everybody
Yeah, that's
thumbs
good.
up? Yeah, and I think that answers the question of the date. What date do we put? I think that's clear to people.
Vote on
And-
March 11, 2025.
Yep, because last year, what I was doing was taking Post-it notes and sticking them on with the voting date, because people were like, well, what day do I vote? So that
Yeah,
solves
that
a
makes
couple
sense.
problems, yeah. Does,
Big balloons.
Balloons.
Yeah.
All right, anything else before we wrap up? Thank you guys so much for your time today. We
Yeah,
appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you for having us.
Michael, I don't wanna forget that you're here online with us. We appreciate you zooming in today. Do you have any final questions or comments before we?
No, I was gonna, yeah, no, I was just gonna ask about the phasing, but I know we said that'll get to later, so that's totally fine. No, just, thanks for having me on the committee. Look forward to helping. I have 2 kids in the school systems and 2 more to come, so it's definitely very important to me, the buildings and grounds, so.
Awesome, well, we're glad you're here and we look forward to seeing you in person next time if you can make it.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely.
Michael.
Thank you. Yep, thanks
All right,
everyone.
we're gonna turn now at 12:04.